Hey guys, it's Bowtie Jake. I got something to show you today. It's something that they call the intake air temperature mod. It works for Gen 3 and Gen 4 LSs. Not sure about Gen 5. No idea. There is another YouTube video out there that goes over the Gen 3 stuff really well. If I remember, I'll put it in the description area. Try to tag that person if I can figure that out. If not, it's out there on YouTube. You guys can figure it out. I'm going to go over the Gen 4 stuff. It requires a 43K ohm resistor. That way we're in the negative 40 degree range in the ECU for the timing table. And we need a 30 to 40 amp fuse relay, 5-wire, not a 4-wire, a 5-wire. I'm going to go over the gist of this. If you guys have any questions afterwards, let me know. Maybe I'll make a little bit more in-depth video. I'm going to show you a little bit of the wiring side of this, where things need to go, and maybe a little bit on the HP tuner side of things. But yeah, you will shoot fireballs out your tailpipe and you will build boost very quickly. At about negative 10 degrees of timing, it took roughly 3 seconds to make about 8.5 pounds of boost on a 91 millimeter turbo. So got to play with that a little bit and see where it goes. But let me show you here real quick. I'm in the car. So you need your math, but let's go over the relay real quick. So the relay has 5 pins, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wires. The red wire needs to go back to the PCM or the 30 wire. In my case, these are the colors. This is what I wrote down for me to keep track. Yours might have different colors. So the 30 pin needs to go back to the PCM, and then the 87A needs to go back to the intake air temperature sensor. So on a Gen 4 LS, it is this really light blue wire. You come back here in the harness, wherever you need to be in the harness, you cut the wire, you add the yellow wire, which is here, to go from the relay back to the sensor, and then this opposite side, which is here, and I tried to match the wiring coloring the blue that I had, which would be to the red, goes back to the PCM. So while this is running, 30 to 87A will act like normal, and then when we hit the the ground switch, it'll run, this wire won't run anymore, and it'll run 30 to 87, which has the resistor in line. So this blue wire is my red all the way up into here, and then the actual blue wire, I have the resistor in line, heat shrinked for protection, and then tied back in to the yellow. And then 85, which was my black, will be an ignition switch power, which I have that going into fuse box here. And then the white was the ground wire, which I made black because, you know, ground is a black wire normally in my head. And I tied that into my MSD 2-step, which is ran off of my e-brake, which is a ground switch. All right. After you got all of that, let's get a close-up of this. That way you guys kind of understand, all the wiring gurus out there understand it a little bit. And that's basically the gist of it. A little bit of wiring, some soldering, some splicing and cutting, and you can make it work. It's not too terribly bad. Don't ask me how you do it if you have your 2-step activated off of a power button. I'd assume you'd be able to figure that out. I'm not fucking very smart with wiring at all whatsoever. So don't ask me. I feel like an idiot most of the time when I look at wiring. Let me pause this real quick, and we'll get over to HP tuners, and I'll show you a little bit what you might need to change. All right, I don't have screen share set up, but basically, you open up HP tuners, you go over to this engine side, and she'll load. And then you go to Spark over here, Advanced, and then you're going to go to the intake air temperature table, Base. And then over here, you'll be primarily in this -40 column, but I just went ahead and grabbed from -40 to -22. And then based off of your normal timing tables, as from your cylinder air mass, I started at 0.48 grams and went all the way down based off of what this timing is here and down here while you're doing in your normal timing table is how much negative you want to command. Well, I'm taking -25 out of 18 degrees of total timing, gives you whatever that ends up being. Then you also want to come over here to the multiplier, and you need to make sure over here it's not 0 where you're hitting your two-step at the -40 degree temperature area, because you want it to be a 101 command of what it's telling what you're doing in the previous table. So, you know, I did a wide range here and tried to smooth it out a little bit. Don't dog on me and my tuning capabilities. I am not a pro. And then obviously over here in your engine coolant temperature, that way you know, you don't want to try to be shooting flames and building boost while your motor's cold, in my opinion. Then you also want to come over here on this side of things and scroll down to the minimum spark base tab, open that up, and in that RPM range, this is where you want to command. Like, all mine was over here set at 16 from, don't know why, one of the previous tuners. So I went over here and grabbed these different ranges of possible RPMs that I might use the two-step, and now I'm going to try to command -6 degrees worth of total timing while I hit the two-step to see what kind of boost it builds, if it builds too fast or too slow, or how much, etc. That is basically the HB tuner side of things, and that is really all I got to show you guys. Hopefully maybe one of these days I'll get a nice road test, road noise, all this other stuff with the T6 Huron speed kit. Other than that, no real big complaints. Hopefully we hit drag strip this year, now that we can actually build some boost off of the line and not be a dog in the water right off the rip, because we're still a 6-speed manual transmission. And yeah, catch you guys later, and got any more questions, let me know.